this damn friendly neighborhood party.
Right on. Welcome to Thoughts Off the Stem. It's so hard to yell after that. Welcome to Thoughts Off the Stem. I'm Justin Barone, and today we're smoking a combination of things. The Jean Guy batter and the Guavacat Kush Lightspeed Live Resin Cold Cured from Astrolabs. So a little indica, like a hybrid and a sativa mixed together, see what happens. Mostly because I finally made it through the fucking Good Supply Jean Guy. And yes, I know that I'm wearing their shirt. But it's not something that I would normally recommend to people. I just wanted to try it because I talk shit about it. So I had to make sure that I wasn't still losing my mind and they'd gotten better. They're okay. They're like entry-level weed, really. If you're trying to get high and you don't know what it's like, that's a good spot to start because it's cheap and it's dry and it's easy. So today I thought what we would do is we would review, because I haven't done this in a while, review some gummies. The THC and CBG live rosin gummies from 1964. They're pineapple mango gummies. They're 10 milligrams, so there's 2 gummies in each pack. Excuse me, I'm drinking a beer and it's got me gassy. There's 2 gummies in each pack. They're each 5 milligrams. So at some point, I'm going to eat those. And then for a pre-roll, you know what? I think I'm going to take a break on the pre-rolls. I think I'm going to smoke. What should I smoke? You know what? I think I'm going to smoke. What's a good... Oh, I know what I'll smoke. We'll also review the Granny Smith Live Terp from Cautery. That one's delicious. So we'll try that out today too. Just load that up, get it ready. But yeah, so I hope you're enjoying your week. I hope you had a good week. I hope, all your dreams and goals and aspirations are coming together. I hope that life is treating you right. Let's see if this works first. Uh-oh. Oh, there we go. I didn't have it on. I was just testing the vape cart. Yep, she's working. Okay, so we'll review that later as well. So I hope you're having a good week. Thank you for joining me, your friendly neighborhood pothead, on Friday at 4:20. Hope everything's going well for you. I thought this week, because I work at a pot shop, I thought it'd be kind of fun to talk about some of the instances. Well, not even some of the instances. I thought it would be fun to talk about talking to your kids about smoking weed, because it's legal now in Canada. It's been legal for the last 5 years almost. 5 years? No, wait. 2018. Almost, 7 years? 5 years? I don't remember. It's been a while now. And I know I talk a lot about people still having that stigma, or there's still a stigma around it. There's still people that aren't, very like buddy with the substance yet. People still have a misconception. But I guess it's kind of getting closer to the misconception of booze. Some people have that misconception that if you drink, you're just a drunk. But I thought, it would be a good thing to talk about, because I'm sure there's other parents out there who are trying to figure out how to talk to their kids about weed now that it's legal. And I think that maybe even some parents that smoke weed are having a hard time figuring out. I think for sure people that don't smoke weed are probably having a difficult time trying to, give it a fair shake, if they're even trying to give it a fair shake. But to talk about it, man, the high just set in. And it's a very confusing high. I want to be social, but at the same time, my brain's kind of like, meh. But yeah, I think there's a lot of parents on both sides that don't know how to talk to their kids about weed, but also are still trying to hide weed from their kids. And I don't necessarily believe that that's the best way to go about it. So yeah, I thought today I would maybe give a couple tips about how to talk to your kids about weed. Although my kids are a little different, man. My kids are kind of like me. I'm pretty straightforward with mine. I tell them everything straight up. There's no, questions about what I'm talking about. I don't really try to sugarcoat anything. I tell them the truth as much as I can. I don't try to tell them everything, but I'm pretty open book. So I'm a little different. But if you're thinking about talking to your kid about weed, I would suggest doing it in, a certain way. For sure. So I thought we'd talk about that while doing some of these gummies. Because these gummies are uplifting and thinky. And apparently, this fucking thing has already squashed my mind. That's ridiculous. So these are THC CBG live rosin gummies by 1964. Flavor is pineapple mango. They're 5 milligrams per gummy of THC. And, they're 1-to-1. So they're 5 milligrams THC per gummy, so a total of 10 milligrams of THC. And then they're 10 milligrams of CBG per gummy. Or sorry, what did I just say? 5 milligrams of CBG per gummy, and then 10 milligrams of CBG total. So let's eat these bad boys, because let's be honest, apparently right now I need a fucking pick-me-up. That Stoonin' Glass hit totally rocked me, dude. I don't know what happened there. But yeah, let's have a little upper instead of a downer. We'll start with 10 milligrams, see what happens. 10 milligrams isn't normally much, but maybe it's enough to give me like a little bit of a boost or something. Yeah. So, I've always been of the mindset that about any major thing that they may come in contact with at a certain age. I'm not talking about talking to a 3-year-old about this. I'm talking about talking to kids that are like 10 and older. So I take the stance that you really should just be open and honest with your kids. And it kind of makes me laugh because I know even a couple years ago, we would have parents come through the shop and they'd buy a bunch of stuff and then they'd buy these smoke buddies. If you don't know what a smoke buddy is, okay, if you haven't smoked weed, when people wanted to smoke weed and they wanted to do it indoors in a place where they weren't supposed to smoke weed, they would take a toilet paper roll and roll a bounce sheet over the toilet paper roll with an elastic or tape it so that as you exhaled through the toilet paper roll, the bounce sheet would filter the air to smell like, whatever, the pleasant summer dream or whatever the fucking, whatever it's supposed to be called. So, people would do that all the time. Let me explain something. Even that, it just made the weed smell like weed and summertime freshness. Like, it didn't mask the smell completely. But now with new innovations within the cannabis industry, you can get filters that actually filter out a lot of the smoke. You can't really filter the smell though. So these parents would come in and they would buy the smoke buddy. And I remember talking to this one couple. They buy a bunch of weed. It's a young couple. And then she goes, can I get one of those smoke buddies? And I go, yeah, sure. And because I know what they're for, but I've never used one because I don't really see the point. So I said to her, I'm like, can I ask why the smoke buddy? And she goes, well, we have kids. So when we smoke, we don't want them to smell it. And I go, okay, I get that. But what about just the smell of the joint? Because even if you're smoking a joint, if you're smoking the bong, a pipe, the weed that's still in there is still burning. And it's still emanating a smell. So you're smelling that, you're just not smelling the exhale. So no matter what, you smell like weed. There's no getting around it, really. So what are we talking about here? If you're doing concentrates, I can understand it a little more where, it just maybe smells a little bit off and nobody's really sure what it is. Whereas weed, it's pretty distinct, man, So I said to her, well, why bother? Because, you're not putting it on the joint. And she just looked at me like I'd ruined her world. She was she basically gave me that fuck off look, And I thought to myself, like, I'm so happy that I'm as open and honest with my kids as I am, because they're at least getting a full understanding of what weed is all about, and how to use it responsibly. Like, I can remember growing up when when I started drinking, I ended up hanging out with this Peruvian family when I was in like 15, 16, and they would throw parties every weekend. And at those parties, the parents wanted to be there, and we would have booze and everything like that, but the parents would sort of teach us how to drink. They coached us through how to keep a buzz going, as opposed to like pounding back shot after shot till you're barfing in the bushes at midnight. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? So I kind of look at weed the same way, because we all know that right now it seems to be that weed is a much less harmful plant and substance than anything else we kind of ingest in terms of regulated goods like cigarettes or booze. So to me, it just makes way more sense to be straight up about it. When my kids started getting interested in weed or hearing about, like, so what happened was I went through a separation about 10 years ago with my ex, my kid's mom. And obviously it wasn't the worst separation. It wasn't the best, but it definitely wasn't the worst. And there were times when some like name calling maybe slipped through the cracks and made it into like where the kids heard it and stuff. So there was a time when everybody liked to point out my weed use and how much weed and how big a pothead I was and all that, and am and all that stuff. And so the kids heard that, and then the kids started asking questions about, well, Dad, weed's bad. Why do you do weed? You shouldn't do weed. It's drugs and all this stuff. And I just remember thinking to myself, like, okay, well, this is the time they're old enough to hear this. And I started to explain to them slowly, because you can't just like feed kids all this information about you can't overload them, right? You have to do it kind of step by step. So you have to kind of like fight a little battle and a little battle until finally you win the whole war and they start to better understand what it is that you're talking about. Because ultimately, when they learn at school, they're learning what, I guess really what the government wants the main population to know, right? So it's your job as a parent to fill in the gaps and correct the broken lines of thought. And with my kids, that's what I really had to do, because as soon as my oldest ended up in her first like DARE program style class, she started coming home and calling me out for smoking so much weed. She'd be like, Dad, you're a bad person. You shouldn't be smoking weed. That's really bad. And she started to like look down on me, and I think because of some of the things and the issues that we had to deal with as a family from the other side of the fence, if you know what I'm saying. She was really let down because she was worried that maybe both of her parents were doing some questionable shit. So I had to take a lot of time to explain how weed can be very helpful. It can definitely be a substance that can be abused, but I feel like almost anything can be abused. Because a lot of people self-medicate in many different ways. Like people that, sexaholics, self-medicating through coming. Like drug addicts obviously take, whatever drug, and hopefully they don't take too much. Potheads, same thing. We'll sort of like go into our shell and just smoke weed so that we don't numb ourselves out so that we don't really feel anything that's going on. And you have to be very aware when you start to go down that path as a person, just in general. So when I'm talking to my kids about what weed's like, they're getting the doom and gloom answers, like, right off the bat, telling you the worst aspects of it or the potential worst aspects of it. And in some cases, the complete lies, because like people say, oh, you'll die, you could die from weed. No, you can't. No one's ever died from weed ever. You can like, I had a guy in the shop one day that was screaming about fucking overdosing on weed, and I was like, buddy, calm down. Overdosing is not, like, you can have too much and that's technically an overdose, but it's not what you're trying to explain. Like, an overdose is generally really, really bad. Like, if you get too high on weed, you're gonna go to bed and wake up the next day maybe a little groggy, but then refreshed for the rest of the day. If you drink too much booze, you're not gonna feel like that. You're gonna feel all hungover. So when I was talking to my kids about it, I am rambling. Holy shit. So when I was talking to my kids about it, after her first, my oldest kid, after her first DARE program class, we had to have a real good long discussion about the benefits of weed, and how weed is already in, like, hemp, and parts of the plant are good, and they're in certain things, everyday things that we use, and how it can also help your body, how it can be beneficial to take as a supplement in certain ways. Like, I used to have hemp protein. That stuff was great. It was like sand trying to eat it. But I found that being very honest and straightforward was the best way to go. So admitting that I smoked weed to her, I would tell her, maybe not, to a T how much I actually smoked, but I would let her, like, if I went out to smoke a joint and she asked, I'd be like, yeah, I'm going to smoke a joint. And it kind of makes me laugh that a lot of people will cover it up. A lot of people cover it up still from their, like, kids and family as well, but also, like, friends. Yeah, it's kind of funny to me, because a lot of people that you would think don't smoke weed do smoke weed. I also think a lot of people do a lot of things that you wouldn't think would do those things. Yeah, people have a weird side, man, and we all try to hide everything. So I take the philosophy of, I'm just going to tell my kids exactly what's up. So I started to explain to them that, no, it's a plant. It's been around always. Like, it's not the same as, like, if you were to have cocaine or heroin or, meth or something like that. Like, you would, that's a chemical that's made by man, whereas weed is grown, it's a flower, it's grown from the ground. You don't really tweak it in the same ways that you tweak, a chemically made drug, especially when it's not when you get over the counter. I had to explain that some of the effects, like, no one should ever advocate that you harm your body. So in terms of smoking it, I get it. There's a ritual. I love smoking weed, but realistically, you really shouldn't smoke weed, right? So if you can be if you can be okay with having, like, edibles all the time, you're kind of better off, because you're not necessarily you're definitely not harming your lungs, but you're not necessarily putting as much, direct pressure on things to function as well. I don't think. I think it's better to ingest it, like, as a food than it is to do it pretty much any other way. Because smoking anything is not good. Anything that's not supposed to go in your lungs and is in your lungs is not good for you, right? So, I think that sort of teaching them that there's other ways to consume it as well that are safer and healthier, are good discussions to have even when they're young, so that they also know that when somebody's got a bias or they're being told misinformation, they can then make the decision that, oh, I shouldn't listen to you, right? Because kids are fucking palpable, dude. Like, you can form those little brains to whatever you want. So any teacher that's telling them something, especially a student like my oldest, who kind of, like, listens to everything, which is good. And she's young, so obviously, like, she doesn't have that experience yet to be like, wait a minute, what are you saying? Like, she has to take it all in and then eventually figure out as time goes on that these things are beneficial or not. And explaining to her how weed is beneficial, I think, was the biggest eye opener to her, because, like, we had real instances that she could relate to where using it to explain how weed helped in that situation was really good for her to hear. Like, she knew that I had bad back pain and I had blown out my back one year when she was little. It was for like I couldn't move forever. And the only thing that would alleviate a lot of the pain was having weed, right? Like, I got my wisdom teeth taken out. They gave me fucking, what the hell was it? They gave me Oxycontin for the pain. I took that, did nothing. I smoked it, like, not even a whole joint, like a couple puffs from a joint, and like the pain was bearable. You know, so like I try to stick with my pain management regime turned into weed at some point. So as I was explaining this to my kid, she started to see the difference, because I went from having this back problem to recovering from that, and then going right into working out and getting stronger and more fit than I had ever been in my life. And so she watched the development of that, and all of that was like, she knew that sometimes I'd smoke weed and do the workout, and like those workouts would go longer. So I think she saw the positive effect of weed, instead of listening to all the negative. I also think that that kind of honesty and that kind of openness is how you get your kids not to try and do things too early in life, right? Like, when I grew up with that Peruvian family, they taught us how to drink. So we understood, like, if you were getting a little too drunk, they would sit you down at the table and they'd be like, okay, look, you're going to have water for the next hour, hour and a half. And then when you're done the water, and we'll see, and maybe you can have some more drinks. Like, they would really regulate you, right? And that really helped. So I feel like when you're learning about weed, you need that kind of like helping hand to understand that, oh, it's not just to get so fucking high that you're sitting somewhere like watching a sunset being like, dude, do you fucking see that sun? Wow, bro. Like, it's not just that. That's a part of it. But I think the bigger part of it is like, there's a ritual in the community. The people that do smoke weed, and as you get older and you learn about like the grown-ups around you, you'll start to realize that a lot of these grown-ups smoke weed, and it's not as bad as the sort of the labels that have been put on it. There's a certain level of scare tactic in schools to try and get her to think a certain way. And yeah, you have to have this kind of like learning curve where you start to realize that there's kind of a guideline of how things operate, but there's a lot of gray area that you can move in and out of. So like, having some weed is not necessarily, you know, the cell in hell that you think it is. Because I know I thought that way until I got to be about 17. Then I was like, fuck, I gotta try this shit. And I tried it, and I was like, oh, this is what all the fuss is about, you know? I've never thought that about cocaine. I've never thought that about like any crazy drugs. The only thought that I have about real crazy drugs is, when you're old, if you want to do them, why not? You're fucking old. You know, just do everything. Fuck it. But teaching kids about weed, I think, should be a very like straightforward, open, honest discussion, because it only benefits them. Like, I mean, I have 3 kids. My kids are between the ages of 10 and 16, okay? And I can bring home like a bunch of weed in different bags and candies and drinks and whatever, and I could put them on the kitchen table. I can leave them on the kitchen table without saying anything, and nobody will touch them. Nobody will try them. Nobody will even move them as a joke, because they know that if they touch it, first of all, they're going to be in trouble. But also, there's no, like, they've each expressed to me the idea that they may want to try it at some point. And I've always said the same thing. When you're ready to try it, we'll have a talk about it, and we'll see if you're really ready or not. And then if you are, I'll smoke with you, so that you have somebody to guide you through the experience if you need it. Because as we know, not everybody should smoke weed. And you don't know until you try. So I think that takes away a bit of the stigma of it. I think that takes away a bit of that like negative viewpoint when you go, okay, I'll let you do it. You know, I think it creates a sense of I think it creates like a sense of respect between the two of you, because you're telling them, look, there, you can try it. I'm not going to be mad at you for trying it. In fact, I'll even help you try it, provided that you wait to the right time to try it. So like, don't try it when you're 13, 12, 13 years old. Don't start doing that shit. The front of your brain, your ability to learn and what was it like? Fuck. See, I started too young, dude. I started when I was like 17. This is stupid. I can't even think of words right now. The front of your brain, the part where you learn and you can retain, like you know, yeah, you can learn. Jesus, Justin. And then what is it? I can't think of it. See, this is what I did. I fucked up my brain. And telling my kid this, it's like, yeah, so you see what I'm saying? So wait till you're 25. Okay? If you have to try it earlier than that, and this is what I'm telling my kids, if you have to try it earlier than that, then come talk to me. Don't get it from your friends. Don't smoke it out at a party. Like, just come to me first, because I don't want you to overdo it your first time. I want you to really just like see what the experience is. I don't want you to, you know, be partying and fucking, it's no fun having your first attempt at weed being a green out. Like, it's not a fun time. And I wish that upon no one. So I will help my kids through that. But yeah, being an open and honest with them has made it so that they respect weed. They understand weed. They also have a healthy respect for my rules towards weed. And I think that's all because it's been an open conversation, an open dialogue where they can ask me anything about it, tell me anything about it. I let them sometimes make jokes about me when I'm high, you know? My son gave me a little panda sticker that he was holding, like a little green tuft of like bamboo. And he gave me the sticker because he's like, Dad, it's a panda holding weed, you know? Like, don't worry, he's not that young. And they're not around it. And I don't, like, you know, do it near them. So it's all separated. But yeah, I find honesty is the best policy with talking to your kids about weed. I find if you try to hide it from your kids, that's when the kids, like, have you ever noticed, like, my parents always told us we couldn't have pop. So we never really had pop in the house. We'd have, like, the occasional bit of junk food, but not a lot, you know? And then we would always have like Cheerios instead of like Fruit Loops or fucking Lucky Charms or something like that. So because I didn't have access to that as a kid, and I was just told, no, you can't have that with no reasoning or anything. It was just like, it was restricted completely. I found that when I got older, I overcompensated and started drinking a lot of pop. I only bought fucking Lucky Charms and Fruit Loops and all that shit, you know? And then there was like this certain level of defiance for years before you're like, fuck, I can't keep eating this shit, you know? Because of your upbringing. And I find that the same with things like grown-up products, you know, like cigarettes, booze, weed. I think at a certain point, we kind of have to be honest with our kids what these things are. Because and how and why we use them and how we use them, even if we're wrong in their use, like cigarettes. How can you say anything good about that? You can't, right? So when your kid talks to you about cigarettes, like, I don't think it's in anybody's best interest to just brush them off. I think your best move is to explain to your kid that you smoke cigarettes because of this reason, but it's the wrong reason, and now I'm stuck with this because I'm addicted to it and I just can't be bothered to quit, you know? So I think that there's merit to that. I also think that there's merit to being open and honest about any kind of like substance use. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily walk up to my kid and be like, hey, guess what? I tried some rails of cocaine the other day and this is what it was like. But, you know, if your kid has questions, I think that you should be open to the idea of discussing it. If they're 10 or over, trust me, they know a lot more than they're letting on. My kids have, unfortunately, seen too much from, you know, family situations and heard too much in the environment that, you know, the other side of the fence is on. It's really given them a perspective that I did not have growing up. I'm sure a lot of other people had similar upbringings. But yeah, I do my best to make sure that they see the more positive side of life over here, which is why I think they stay with me the most. And that's also why I feel that it's my duty to be open and honest with them about all the things that I do. Because I'm not doing fucking heroin, cocaine, LSD, any of that shit. I'm not doing chemicals. I'm just smoking a bit of weed. People that hide it make me laugh because they hide it from people that also don't want them to know they're smoking, but they're smoking. That's just how it goes. It's so dumb. It's a stupid cycle. Just be honest with everyone. I find that if you can't be honest with people and they kick back and that's their belief is that, oh, they just don't agree with you, well, that was probably, like, you can disagree with people and still be their friends. But the people that disagree with you to the point where they can't be friends anymore, that's a psychopath. It's probably time to move on anyway. So I feel like anything can really be a discussion. And then you could put pretty much anything in age-appropriate discussion as well, right? So I don't see the benefit to just trying to hide anything from my kids when it comes to any kind of questions they have about what goes on in life. I just think it's way better to be direct. Yeah, I really do. Which is probably why I like those fucking 1964 gummies, dude. Because these gummies, okay? These gummies have they're so tasty. They're live resin. So I used to eat the Sours pineapple mango or pineapple starfruit or something. Pineapple starfruit CBG gummies. Those were the best. 20 milligrams, and I'd have a little bit of the giggles, and I'd be super talkative, and it'd be fun for about an hour or so. And then these guys came out, 1964, THC CBG live resin gummies, with a balanced CBG to THC ratio. They're little yellow gummies like this. They're super tasty. They taste like mango and pineapple. I could eat these all day. I went to Blue Mountain a couple weeks ago. And over the course of Friday, I ate 100 milligrams of those. Yep. I love that shit. But 20 milligrams with these seems to be a pretty good dose. And I smoke a lot of weed. So my tolerance is pretty high. And I find these things really good. 20 milligrams gets you in that right little spot where your brain's kind of going pretty quick. You're thinking about silly shit. You're just acting kind of goofy. You're let loose. Your inhibitions are lowered a little bit. And you can start making jokes about stuff. I went to a grocery store recently after eating 20 milligrams. It took about 20 minutes for it to kick in. And I got, as soon as I got to the grocery store, because you go outside, it's dark, and you go inside, and sorry, I need another beer. Here we go. And then the lights are back on, like the lights are super bright, and it just like kicks the gummies in, and now all of a sudden I'm fucking giddy and giggly, right? So I'm with the woman I'm seeing, and she just keeps talking about these different meat things. She's like, we went there to see what we were gonna get for dinner, and she kept asking me. I go, I want a salad. Like, I just want a salad. That's all I want. Like a Caesar salad. I'm good, right? But when we got in, she started picking out like all these meat things, like different, pastas and meats and whatever. And I'm like, no, I just want a Caesar salad. I want a pre-made Caesar salad. But I was making fun of all the meats. And as we're standing at one of the refrigerated sides of the meat department, I guess, I'm sitting there making fun of some of them, and this dude walks up beside us and he starts chuckling. And I didn't know, but when we left, she said that he was laughing at all the shit I was saying about meatballs. And then she was walking through the store, and I couldn't keep up with her. She walks really fast. She's got long legs. She's tall. And so she's walking really fast. So I'm just kind of like sauntering along behind her, yelling down the grocery store like, hey, what race are we in? Why are you sprinting away from me? What's happening now? I didn't do anything. I'm carrying your groceries. And I don't know. It was a good time. But yeah, it always makes me like giggly and goofy. So I really enjoy eating those because it's 20 milligrams all you need, and they taste good. You don't really taste the live resin. If you eat a lot of them, you kind of do. But if you only eat 20 milligrams, you're okay. If you have 100 milligrams, it's really fun. You get some pretty good giggles. There's a little period of time where you don't really talk too much because you lull out a little. Yeah. They're a good time. I recommend that you pick them up. So would I buy them again? Yes. I'll tell you what. I would buy them again so much that I've already bought. Yeah, that's right. We've got them 3 times in at the store. The first time I bought them, I bought 6 packs. Okay? The second time I bought them, I bought 6 packs. And then I went back and I bought the other 6 packs. Okay? Every time the box comes in, I buy half. That's how good they are. So would I buy them again? Yes. And that's how it shall be. I don't know why I do that. But like, oh, that's what I was going to do. Okay, I got a new button. So check this out. Let's do that again. Okay, so would I buy them again? Yes, I would buy them again. And that's how it shall be. One of those will work well. We'll add that in, cut it up a little. Yeah, so I recommend those. I suggest you get them. I know I didn't quite get to the green apple thing this one, but sorry. I'll have to get to it next time. I'll do it on the next podcast. We'll smoke that. For sure. But yeah, those are my thoughts off the stem for this week. If you're going to talk to your kids about weed, be honest, be open. Don't tell them lies, tell them the truth. If you're looking for some good edibles, I highly recommend the THC CBG 1964 mango pineapple live rosin gummies. They're delicious. You only need about 20 milligrams. Even if you smoke a lot of weed, you could still get away with just 20 milligrams. Because you're going to be smoking something. You're going to be smoking something as well also, right? Fuck, they're setting in. I'm getting high. I'm getting weird. So yeah, if you're looking for something like that, that's a good thing to go for. What else? That's pretty much it. Thank you for joining me, Justin Barone, on your Friday at 4:20 to start your weekend off right. Hope you come back next week on Thoughts Off the Stem on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, iTunes, YouTube, Good Pods, Podchaser, Pandora, Podbean. You can get all those links at tots420.com. And yeah, it's a good place to go. Thank you for joining me. Hopefully we'll see you next week. Until next time, keep your lids low, baby. Yeah, I'm definitely doing that on the next one. Ho show!
Thoughts off the stem for a neighborhood party.
Right on.